In this video, one of my subscribers, Ivan, sent me a website that he created for Dream Gym, and he wants me to provide feedback in regards to how to make the website better. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to focus on all the good stuff that you've done, Ivan. I'm specifically going to answer your question on how to improve the site. So firstly, for context, this site is actually in a different language. So I actually have to put it into Google Translate to make it into English. So that's what I'm seeing here. And it's currently sitting in a .webflow.io staging site. And I've reviewed it before, but one main thing that I would recommend, and for anyone watching this in order to help with your website, is I can see that the design is lacking fundamentals, specifically consistency. Consistency. So what I noticed is that you have a lot of like font styles. So you, for example, in this header 1, you have this in capital, so don't dream, all in capital. But in some of the other pages, you then have it in like lowercase. So I would you should definitely stick to one of them. So either use a capital font or a lowercase font, but don't mix and match it. It gets very confusing. And then in this secondary text right here, this is typically a paragraph text that's supporting the hero text. So I would actually put this to be lowercase, not capital. And I would also change the font thickness so it's all consistent. So all paragraph text should be, for example, medium font boldness, medium weighted font, rather than like bold and then just like thin right here. So consistency in that case, the typography, and also the font sizing. So for example, you have, if I inspect this right here, this hero 1 text is 88 pixels. This really should be a paragraph text, like I said earlier. This is 48 pixels. Then we have 88. Then we have 72. Then we have 20. Then we have 64. Then we have 44. Then we have 20. Then we have 64 again. And then we have 20, 64, 44. So I'll definitely keep it very, very consistent. In fact, I've actually got an example. It's just an example, just to start out with. I would suggest like header 1, again, this is just an example. Header 1 is just one font, let's say 64 pixels, and also pay attention to line height. So that's important as well, but 64 pixel, header 2, 48 pixels, header 3, 32 pixels. Again, these numbers don't matter, but just you can see the hierarchy right here. Then we have a standard paragraph text, let's say 24 pixels, and then you can put some small variants, like you can make a paragraph text a bit larger through a combo class, or you can also make it a bit smaller through another combo class as well, so maybe 18 pixels. But that's it. Like I would recommend like this much. Maybe you want to put a header 4, but that's it. I would not like deviate from this, just to start up with, and you'll notice it's a lot more consistent. Another thing is in regards to contrast. Some of your like elements, for example, this sign up, the button right here is a bit weird, like how like the white and the gold, it doesn't contrast very well. So I recommend fixing that. There's many ways. You can put the background color to be different, like it gets darker. You can also make it so that the button shrinks down, and you can make everything consistent. So I noticed even your button right here is like radius. So let's say 5 pixel like radius, which is cool. And then I noticed like if you scroll down, there's another button here that's actually rounded. So I'll just keep that one style. So a lot of my feedback is just keeping the exact same style. That's what I'll do. And the next thing, if I scroll down, it's just sizing. So for example, these illustrations are a bit too big and they should have a bit more padding between each other, because right now it's kind of overlapping right here. And even if I put my mouse over here, this preparation is kind of cutting off of this circle. So these small things, just fix it up. Again, I recommend making these icons a lot smaller and implementing my font sizing, which is like something like this. The next thing is like, for example, the choice of illustration is pretty important as well in design. This specific illustration looks very similar to this, so perhaps just change it up, and also use consistency of illustration. So I noticed that, for example, these are like nice and thick, and then if I scroll down right, where was it? Here, I can see that there's inconsistency in styles now. Like this one's actually a fill. Yeah, this is a fill icon right here. It's filled in, and if I scroll down, this is no longer a filled in icon. This is an outline icon right here. And not only that, but it gets into the thickness. These are the small details that actually make the site better. That's why I'm telling you. For example, this star is like, let's say, pretty thick. this handshake is pretty thin. You can see, like, if I put it side by side, it's very different. So you're using two different icon styles right here. So I'll just pick one. For example, this is a thin outline. This is a thin outline. This is a thick, solid fill. This is a thin outline with a lot more detail. And this is a thick outline. So even these two right here is actually different. They look thick, but this one's actually filled in and this one's an outline. So using three different styles right here, I'll keep it all consistent. Perhaps this thin one looks pretty nice and elegant, you know. This here, I'll add some images. I'll suggest if you have images, you can add them in. If not, that's cool. Here, I'll fix up the spacing right here. It just looks very off. It seems to me like no more waiting, sign up and see you at training. This button right here, although I like the effect is really cool and unique, there's too much spacing. And the reason why it's bad, or it'll be a lot better if you just reduce the spacing here, is because of grouping. So this no more waiting is actually related to this button right here. So therefore it should be grouped together. So right now it looks like it's three different elements. It's this logo, it's this text, and this is button. And it symbolizes in our brain like these are all separate. But really these two are actually related. So I'll reduce the spacing here. And you can even play around with reducing the spacing between this logo and the text and the button, because technically they're all related. You can also put a background video in the back or an image, because you seem to have a lot of images. Here, frequently asked questions. This is cool. One thing I noticed is again, it's just consistency, right? You're using gradient text, which is cool, and I think it's in the logo as well. But then here, you're not using it. So just be careful of that. Keep it consistent. And then here is nice. I'm not sure what boldness of this text is, but again, just think about the consistency. Here, I'll fix the spacing. So this text right here is a bit too low to the bottom. Great job on the Google Map embed. I'll even consider changing up the font sizing. And there's a weird spacing here. You know, this spacing right here is, you know, just pick a spacing and stick to it. That's what I suggest. For example, if this spacing right here is 100 pixels, I'll make everything 100 pixels, like left and right. You know, it's just really, really consistent, down to the T. Here, just as suggestions for followers on Instagram, you could put some images below this and pull it from their Instagram. Not like a live API, but just like uploading it manually. The footer is not bad. It could be better. You can take a look at other gyms, but not bad. I think these icons, social media icons, can be a lot smaller. And I think you can potentially put like follow us on socials. And this copyright could be a smaller, the text, and even the spacing could be just a bit more spacing. And yeah, I like how it has working hours and then the email and then the address. I'm not sure if they have like a phone number. If they have that, that'll be great to include. And another thing I'd suggest is potentially, you know, consider if you want to join a gym, you know, what are some things you actually want to know? This is just an example. This is what I noticed in service businesses that has a physical location, is to put that information somewhere up front. Like, we are located in Germany in this address. You can call us right here on this phone number. You can email us right here. Here are our opening hours, just like straight away in the hero section somewhere. That's what I recommend, if applicable. Again, I don't really know this business, but if applicable. So again, those font sizes, what I would suggest. Everything else is pretty good. Like, you put effort into it. And yeah, those are the main advice I'll give. And then I'll just quickly take a look at your Webflow project. I can see you've done a lot of good things. For example, you put like the navigation as a symbol, the footer as a symbol, this CTA section as a symbol, and you really give it a solid go. And it seemed to me like everything is pretty mobile responsive. So if I go here, click onto this, you can see the spacing's a bit off here, but like you've done it, you know, like I think it's pretty much there. Like you said, it was 95% there. Some small stuff like this, I believe this text is justified, so you might want to put it to left align. And another advice that I'll give is, especially with dark mode, what I found best is that in order to create more like hierarchy, because right now this text and this like Power Dream is like, they're both competing, not in terms of font size, but in terms of color. Like, they're both really bright. You can actually make the hierarchy, besides reducing the font, by changing this text to a off-white. So what I usually like to do is change the opacity to, let's say, this is example, you know, like I would say 56%, and then that way it looks better. It looks like you're just reading this image because the color pops, this text right here, and then if they're bothered, they can read this paragraph text, which is like a muted color. So play around with the color as well. This is amazing how you made this responsive. And I noticed that you did a lot of really good things, which I didn't mention in this video, by the way, because I wanted to keep it short, and you specifically asked me for improvement feedback. But I would also increase the title tag. So I'll just research some keywords that your client wants, and I can just add it into the title tag. For example, this example, like Germany #1 gym, like if that's what you want to rank. And in the meta description, it's a bit too short, so you can actually add more words just to take advantage of that. It's fantastic you added an open graph image, and it's even fantastic that you looked like you attempted to put a schema markup, which is amazing, by the way. And then you used a lot of custom code. But besides that, I think it's cool. Let's say if you have an error 404 page. Wow, you even thought of this. Again, I don't know if you used the template or not, but great job. Great job. Hope these advice helped. I hope anyone who watches this video learned something. Again, consistency, that's all. Making sure that font sizes are consistent down to the thickness, like black, heavy. You can see right here, this is a light font, this is a black font. All of this should be consistent, especially when starting out. Just keep it consistent, and then once you master that, then you can break the rules, you know what I mean? But great work. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to review your site. Like you put a lot of effort, I can tell, like a lot of effort, and I'm proud of you, and I hope you keep it up. And if you need any more help, just let me know, Ivan. And anyone watching this wants me to review their Webflow site, let me know. Send me your URL link as well as your Webflow read-only link. Just keep in mind, I'm going to make the video public, which Ivan has already agreed. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you